Hi there, it's Cindy from FrenchEasy.com. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you all about the French subject pronouns, les pronoms sujets. So first of all, what are subject pronouns? In English, the subject pronouns are I, you, he, she, it, we, and they. They are little words that indicate who is doing the action of the verb, and they are used to replace nouns when who or what is being talked about is obvious. So for example, instead of saying, my sister did something, I could say, she did something, if you already knew I was talking about my sister. In French, the subject pronouns are je, tu, il, elle, on, nous, vous, elles. So first let's have a look at je. Je means I. And what you need to know about je is that it changes to J apostrophe in front of most words starting with the letter H, in front of most words starting with a vowel, and in front of the word I. For example, je vais à la piscine. I'm going to the swimming pool. We're using je because the following word starts with a consonant. J'y vais, I'm going. We're using J apostrophe because it is followed by I. Now let's have a look at tu. Tu means you, but as you may know, there are actually two ways of saying you in French, depending on who you're talking to. You should use tu when talking to just one person, but only if you know that person very well, such as a friend or a family member. You should also use tu when talking to a child, regardless of whether you know them very well or not. For example, if you were talking to a friend, you could say, Tu vas à la fête ce soir? Are you going to the party tonight? Tu es bon en français. You're good at French. Let's now have a look at il. Il can mean either he or it. It can be used to refer to people, animals, and things. But as you may know, French things also have a gender. So you can only use il when referring to something if that thing is masculine. Il is also used to talk about the weather or to say what time it is. So say you're talking about your brother doing his homework, you could say, il fait ses devoirs. He is doing his homework. If you want to say that your dog does not bite, you can say, il ne mord pas. He doesn't bite. If your computer is not starting, you could say, il ne fonctionne plus. It doesn't work anymore. Il is also used to talk about the weather. Il fait beau. It's sunny. And il is also used to talk about the time. Il est 3 heures. It's 3 o'clock. Now let's have a look at elle. Elle can mean either she or it, and elle is used to refer to someone, an animal, or a thing, as long as it is female. For example, if you were talking about a girl, you could say, Elle est gentille. She is nice. But likewise, you would still use elle if you were referring to a car having broken down, because une voiture, a car, is a feminine noun. So, elle est en panne means it broke down. Now let's have a look at on. It usually either means one or we, but it can also sometimes mean you or they. On can be used to mean you when you would be used to refer to people in general. On is often used instead of nous in informal French, so on can also mean we. And finally, on is often used to avoid using the passive voice or to avoid naming someone, in which case in English it would translate to someone or they. But on could only possibly mean they if the person being talked to doesn't know who they actually refers to. In other words, on can only mean they if they could be substituted for some people. So, let's have a look at a few examples. On fait des crêpes? Shall we make pancakes? On m'a tapé dessus. Someone hit me. On is used here to avoid naming who did the hitting, or it could be that the person being hit doesn't know who actually hit them. On m'a conseillé de faire ça. I was advised to do this, or they advised me to do this. By using on, we don't need to mention who actually gave the advice, and we avoid using a passive construction like you would in English when saying I was advised to do this. On peut voir la mer par la fenêtre de ma chambre. You can see the sea out of my bedroom window. On is used here to mean you in general, as in anyone can see the sea out of my bedroom window. Now let's have a look at nous. Well, the only thing that we've got to say about nous is that it means we. But using nous rather than on is more formal, as on is a familiar way of saying we. Nous isn't. So for example, nous habitons à la campagne. We live in the countryside. Nous avons un chien et 2 chats. We have a dog and 2 cats. Now let's have a look at vous, the second way of saying you. Unlike tu, vous is used when talking to several people or when talking to one person you don't know well, such as your boss, the baker, or a stranger. For example, vous avez été sages les enfants? Have you been good kids? We're using vous because we're talking to the kids, so we're talking to several people. If a businesswoman was late to a meeting, she could be told, Vous êtes en retard, madame. You're late, madam. Because the person talking to her doesn't know her very well, as in, she is not a family member nor a friend. Now, when should we use il? And that's il with an S, because the singular il and the plural il are pronounced exactly the same. So il with an S means they. And just like the singular form, it can refer to people, animals, and things. Il can be used to talk about several males or masculine things, and several people, animals, or things from both genders. In other words, you would use il to mean they if you were talking about several men, or if you were talking about a group of men and women. You could also use il if you were talking about lorries and cars, being as a lorry, un camion, is a masculine noun in French, and a car, une voiture, is a feminine noun. For example, ils sont déjà partis, they've already left. In this case, il, they, could refer to more than one man, or it could even refer to a man and a woman. If someone asked you what color are your car and your lorry, you could say, ils sont tous les deux gris. They're both grey, being as I said earlier, a car in French is a feminine noun and a lorry is a masculine noun. Now let's have a look at elle with an S. Elle in the plural means they, and just like elle in the singular, it can refer to people, animals, and things. Elle only refers to several females or feminine things. So for example, if you're talking about your daughters, you could say, Elles sont au parc avec leur grand-père. They're at the park with their grandfather. And if you've just polished some shoes, being as a shoe, une chaussure, is a feminine noun in French, you could say, Elles viennent d'être cirées. They've just been polished. That's the end of the lesson. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and share it. And if you're new to my channel, please subscribe for more. If you still have questions on this topic, don't hesitate to ask in the comments. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Bye.